Do you remember this story from your primary school days? King Alfred the Great is on the run from the Vikings, right? And he dives into this vast network of salty marshes that completely covered this area during the 9th century. And he sees this little mud hut that belongs to a swineherd and his wife, and he tells them that he's a deserter from the English army, and they agree to hide him. And the swineherd goes off and gets on with his jobs. She goes off and does her chores. And Alfred's sitting there, completely wrapped in thought, and he doesn't notice this huge black cloud pouring out of the fire, and the swineherd's wife comes back in, and she is absolutely livid. "You couldn't be bothered to keep an eye on my cakes, could you?" she says. "But you wouldn't mind shoveling them down your throat when they were baked, would you greedy fat lummox?" So what does Alfred do? Does he storm off in some kingly huff? No, Alfred the Great is a man of the people. He's like some 9th century Che Guevara figure. He just apologises profusely, and in some royal way that I've never quite understood, he uses the whole experience as a kind of learning curve that enables him to gather all his people together and lead them in another charge against the Vikings. So, is that just a little romantic tale? Or was it based in historical fact?
Guthrum, king of the Danes, who is pursuing him, trying to find out where he is, and wreak one of those peculiarly nasty vengeances which the Vikings had up their sleeves. They practiced what was known as the blood eagle, which was a peculiarly nasty form of death in which they kind of slit the victim down the front while living, peeled back the ribs, and then flung back on either side the lungs to form a living blood eagle.
It's so disgusting.
It is absolutely revolting. And if that wasn't enough, you know, they went in for a tidy bit of crucifixion, by the way.
Well, the Time team is in Somerset this week, on the Somerset Levels, and we're here because one particular Somerset family has got a very interesting piece of Alfred's history right on their doorstep, and they'd like us to try and sort it out for them.
Dear Time team, for over 50 years my family and I have farmed at Athelney. We are aware it is the site of Alfred's Abbey, and it is believed he had a fort here. Can you produce any evidence of those buildings and show what Athelney looked like in Alfred's time? Yours sincerely, Tim Morgan, Athelney Farm.
A very big thanks to all the friendly farmers and field walkers and local archaeologists who've helped us this weekend. We've had a brilliant time. We came here in response to a letter from the Morgans over here. No doubt about it, it's been a very successful weekend. The geophysics work has produced the first ever picture of the medieval abbey, and also the outline of an earlier building which could be the remains of a smaller abbey built by Alfred. Victor's drawings, I think, show very clearly how different the landscape looked in Alfred's time. The island itself, surrounded by salt marshes, with the causeway linking it to Ling and the bridgehead fortifications. But the discovery of the two Ferrous ditches and the lumps of slag from the fort site is in many ways the most important development of all. It may mean that we found the first evidence of the place where Alfred made his swords and other weapons used to defeat the Danes in 887. There was one other question. Why was Alfred known as the Great? Well, he was our first ever literate king, which must have been quite a step forward. He was cultivated, magnanimous, and and he united his people and defeated the dreaded Vikings, thus ensuring the survival of the English nation. Sounds reasonably great to me. And of course, he managed to find his way through these swamps and marshes. And that's not easy, believe me.